private hospital wing was silent in the way only money could buy. White marble floors, soft lighting, machines that hummed with quiet authority. Outside the glass walls, the city pulsed with noise and life, but in here, everything felt so time itself was afraid to move. 18 doctors stood in a loose semicircle around a small hospital bed. 18 of the best specialists flown in from across the country. Pediatric surgeons, neurologists, genetic experts, each with resumes heavy enough to command entire floors of hospitals, and none of them could save the baby. The child lay impossibly small beneath a tangle of tubes and wires. His chest rose unevenly, shallow breaths fighting for space. His skin carried a faint blue tint that no machine could explain away. His name was Ethan Holodot, the only son of billionaire Richard Holodot. Richard stood at the foot of the bed, hands clenched so tightly his knuckles had gone white. He had built empires, crushed competitors, bent markets to his will, but here he was powerless. Say it again, Richard demanded, his voice hoarse. You're telling me there's nothing else? Dr. Collins, head of pediatrics, removed his glasses slowly. We've exhausted all conventional and experimental treatments. His condition is atypical. His oxygen levels drop without warning. His body isn't responding to protocols. Richard's jaw tightened. Then invent something. Silence. One doctor looked at another. No one met Richard's eyes. I don't care what it costs, Richard snapped. I'll double your salaries. Triple them. Bring in anyone you need. Dr. Collins swallowed. This isn't about money. Richard laughed bitterly. Everything is about money. A nurse quietly adjusted a monitor. The baby's heart rate fluttered, then steadied barely in the corner of the room. Unnoticed by most, stood a woman holding a folded blanket. Her name was Marisol. She was the caretaker. She cleaned the rooms, changed linens, brought warm water and quiet prayers. She wore plain clothes and soft shoes and moved like someone who had learned not to take up space. No one had asked her to be there, but she hadn't left. Marisol had raised 3 children of her own, buried one. She had learned the language of sickness the hard way through long nights and whispered hopes and the kind of faith that didn't announce itself. She'll watch the baby closely, not the machines. The doctors fired out one by one, murmuring apologies and next steps that sounded hollow even to them. Richard remained. He collapsed into a chair, covering his face. I can't lose him, he whispered to no one. I already lost his mother. Marisol hesitated, then she stepped forward. Sir, she said softly. Richard looked up sharply, irritation flashing. I didn't call for housekeeping. She flinched but didn't retreat. I know, she said. I've been watching the baby. Dr. Collins turned. Ma'am, please. He stops breathing when the room is too quiet, Marisol said. The doctors froze. What? Collins asked. Marisol's hands trembled slightly, but her voice stayed steady. When everyone leaves, when the machines are the loudest thing, his chest tightens. That's not possible, another doctor said. There's no data to support. I know, Marisol replied gently. But I've seen it before. Richard stood slowly. Seen what? A baby who needed to be reminded he wasn't alone. The room went still. This was absurd, unscientific, desperate, and yet Dr. Collins glanced at the monitors. The baby's oxygen was dipping again. Sir, Collins said quietly to Richard, we don't have anything to lose. Richard looked at Marisol, really looked at her. What are you suggesting? He asked. She swallowed. I want to hold him. One doctor scoffed. That's against protocol. He's dying, Marisol said, not unkindly. Protocols don't matter to dying babies. Richard's chest heaved. Do it, he said. They hesitated, then slowly, carefully. They disconnected just enough wires. Mari sat in the chair and cradled the baby against her chest. His body was lighter than she expected. Fragile, she began to hum. Not loud, not pretty. A low, steady melody, an old lullaby from her childhood. One she'd sung through fevers and storms and nights when the world felt cruel. The baby's breathing stuttered, then steadied. A nurse gasped. His oxygen, it's rising. Another doctor whispered. The machines adjusted. The numbers climbed. Richard's eyes filled with tears. Marisol continued humming, rocking gently, her cheek resting near the baby's head. He remembers, she whispered. The rhythm, the warmth. Minutes passed, then an hour. The baby slept deeply. The doctors stared like witnesses to a miracle. They didn't know how to explain. Dr. Collins exhaled slowly. We've been treating his body, he said, not his fear. Richard dropped to his knees. I would have paid anything. He sobbed. Anything. Marisol looked at him kindly. He didn't need money. The next day the news spread quietly through the hospital. The billionaire's baby had stabilized overnight. No interventions, no new drugs, just a caretaker and a lullaby. Richard asked to see Marisol privately. She stood awkwardly in his office, hands folded. I owe you my son's life, he said. Name your price. Marisol shook her head. I don't want your money, he frowned. Everyone wants something. She met his eyes. Then listen. He did. She told him about understaffed wards, overworked aides, mothers who couldn't afford care, babies born into fear and silence. I see them every day, she said. They need what your son needed. Richard was quiet for a long time then. He nodded. Weeks later, the Hole Foundation for Infant Care was announced. Fully funded, nationwide, focused on early emotional bonding, caregiver training, and human-centered medicine. Marisol didn't take a promotion. She stayed where she was, but every nurse knew her name. Every doctor listened when she spoke, and every time Richard held his son, he remembered the truth that saved him, that sometimes the unthinkable isn't a miracle or a breakthrough or $1 billion. Sometimes it's humility, and sometimes the smallest hands guided by love instead of power are the ones that save a life.